The airport was flooded with daylight, sunlight pouring through the glass walls like it was trying to expose every secret people carried inside, and in the middle of that brightness sat a man who felt completely invisible. Armin Halim, a globally respected CEO with a fortune large enough to buy silence anywhere, stared at the departure board while his life quietly collapsed behind his calm posture. He had everything the world admired and nothing his heart recognized anymore, and that was when a small, gentle presence broke through his isolation by asking if he too was lost, a question so innocent and piercing that it struck deeper than any boardroom betrayal ever had. Before the story goes any further, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of human connection, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel Good Soul, because stories like this live through people who still believe hearts can heal. Armin had arrived early for his flight, not because he was punctual, but because his penthouse felt unbearable after signing divorce papers that morning. The marriage had ended quietly, without shouting, without drama, just exhaustion and two people who had stopped trying. He had built companies from nothing, turned risk into empires, but at 51 years old he could not fix the emptiness echoing inside him. The airport buzzed with movement, families laughing, travelers rushing, announcements floating through the air, yet Armin sat still, hands folded, eyes tired, dressed in a tailored suit that suddenly felt like a costume. That was when he noticed the little girl sitting a few seats away, bathed in sunlight, her legs not quite reaching the floor, holding a worn backpack that looked too big for her small frame. Her name was Serene, though Armin did not know that yet. She had been watching people pass with quiet curiosity, not fear, not sadness, just patience. She was waiting for her aunt, delayed by traffic, and in that waiting she noticed the men whose eyes looked heavier than anyone else's. When she asked if he was lost too, she wasn't being playful. She was sincere. Armin didn't answer right away. The question lingered, echoing through memories of childhood dreams he had abandoned for ambition. Eventually, he responded honestly, not with words, but with a look that surprised even him, one that admitted yes without explanation. Instead of pulling away, the child smiled softly, as if loss was something familiar, something survivable. She scooted closer, not invading his space, just sharing it, and began telling him about how airports were strange places where people left pieces of themselves behind and sometimes found new ones without realizing it. As time passed, Armin found himself listening, really listening, in a way he hadn't done in years. Serene spoke about her mother who worked nights, about missing her father who lived far away, about learning to be brave even when adults were busy being tired. Her words were simple, but they carried truth unfiltered by pride or fear. Armin realized that somewhere along his climb to success, he had stopped being brave in that honest way. He had replaced curiosity with control, connection with caution. The flight announcement echoed again, but Armin did not move. For the first time in years, he felt present. When Serene's aunt finally arrived, apologizing and gathering her things, the little girl hugged Armin without hesitation, leaving behind warmth that stunned him. She told him, again without ceremony, that grown-ups forget they are allowed to feel lost, and that finding someone else who is lost at the same time can make the place less scary. Then she was gone, pulled gently into the flow of the crowd. Armin boarded his flight, but he was not the same man who had entered the airport that morning. At 30,000 feet, he stared out at the daylight clouds and made a decision that frightened him more than any investment ever had. He would step back from his company, not abandon it, but allow others to lead while he rediscovered who he was without the armor. He would rebuild bridges he had neglected, mentor instead of command, and maybe even volunteer at youth programs his company funded but he had never visited. Months later, Armin returned to the same airport, not as a broken man escaping his life, but as someone arriving with intention. He carried a small gift in his bag, hoping, though not expecting, to see the child who reminded him that being lost was not failure, just a pause before direction. Even though he never saw Serene again, her presence stayed with him, shaping choices, softening edges, reminding him that meaning does not come from control, but from connection. If this story touched your heart even a little, please take a moment right now to like the video, share it with someone who may feel lost, and subscribe to Good Soul, because stories like this grow stronger when shared. Before this story ends, we have one special request for you. Please comment the word "found" if you believe even the most lost hearts can rediscover their way. Armin walked out of the airport into the bright afternoon sun, no longer afraid of the open space ahead of him, knowing that sometimes the smallest voices ask the biggest questions, and sometimes the answer changes everything.